come from, or perhaps I should say I escaped from a small town in the north. The kind of place that Instagrammers like to come and pose and push their idyllic dreams of bucolic enchantment, which, like all things influencer related, is nothing more than a thin veneer of privileged daydreams. Scratch just beneath that surface, and you'll find that life there is much different than what you've been led to believe. The main street through town is lined with antique buildings, the youngest of which is 100 years old. They're probably exactly what you're picturing. Hewn stone, some of them more intricately carved than the others, some with false fronts, all with history and all showing their age. Yes, there are also plenty of cutesy tourist trap boutiques, full of overpriced things that no one locally could ever afford. But it's exactly the kind of place that after the few summer months when the buzz of outsiders dies away, the only thing left to shine in our bleak lives is the mediocre fall fare. Perhaps you're thinking I'm being too harsh in saying things are bleak, but let me paint you the true picture of what living in a small northern town is like. There is very little work for anyone, especially teens. The women all work at the local cottage hospital or small grocery market. The men, if they aren't farming, are in public works, which you really ought to take that job title with a grain of salt. The community is very, very poor. Most days, work is done by 10 a.m., and you'll find a large contingent of locals at the dingy old hotel bar, or even just chilling in one another's stores, where smoking and open carry drinking happens all the time, despite the laws against such things. Substance abuse and teen pregnancy is a norm around here. If you're unlucky enough to be born into it, you have to be seriously strong-spirited to escape the gravity of this place if you don't want to be sucked back down into this hell. As I said, bleak. And the place reached its absolute bleakest after my mother's death. Whether it was home or even the woods where she used to take me wildcrafting, sharing near-forgotten lore, foraging for herbs and greens and mushrooms, it all became foreign, lonely, and dark after losing her light. Without her there to understand me, it felt like I became a stranger to even myself. My reflection didn't feel like it belonged to me. School was worse. In an ideal world, kids would show some sympathy to a person who lost a parent, but in this town, that kind of empathy was reserved only for those considered popular or conformist enough. The quiet boy with a femme face and physique who drew pictures and wandered the woods with his mom as opposed to playing sports definitely did not meet either of those criteria. A month after my mother's death, I came home with a black eye. I told some meathead idiot exactly what I thought of him and his comments about me and my mother. "What happened to you?" my father asked, seeming to me to be disinterested and only asking out of duty. He sat in a cracked leather recliner with torn seams, beer in hand, and some trashy talk show with people yelling at each other blaring from the television. Someone hit me. "You probably said something to deserve it, I bet." He took a swig from his bottle and turned his attention back to the television. "Are you going out tonight?" I asked. "Of course, it's hockey night." Which didn't mean playing the game. It actually meant just sitting in his friend's garage with a bunch of other guys drinking beer and screaming at the TV. "Right," I said before turning to trudge up the stairs to my room. Two deep brown eyes blinked, peering down at me, accompanied by the thwump sound of a massive tail hitting the ground as it swished side to side. I ran up the stairs, cupping the dog's muzzle in my hands and giving its nose a kiss. "Hello, Echo. Did you miss me?" He gave a joyful woof and jumped to his feet, padding along behind me to my room. Once I opened the door, he jumped up on my bed and curled into my blankets. I gave him another scratch behind his ears. Were you hiding up here from him too? Echo gave a sad whine. I know, he's angry about Mom. I am too. He'll get better. I said the words, but wasn't sure how much I believed them. To be honest, I had more confidence he'd drink himself to death before letting go of the rage that had possessed him. I crouched down and wrapped my arms around Echo. He nuzzled in, his tail whapping back and forth happily. Holding him made the absence of my mom seem just a little further away. On all our walks and foraging trips into the woods, he'd been our dedicated companion. Echo never wandered far from our sides. Echo's our guardian, my mom once said. We're always safer when he's around. Sighing and giving Echo a last squeeze, I turned my attention to my homework. I'd known for a long time that education would be my best chance at escape. And with my mom gone, it felt like the need to get away from this town wasn't just a desire, it was a necessity. A while later, I heard the front door slam behind my father. I waited until the pre-game show would have started before venturing downstairs for some food. I freshened up Echo's water bowl and got him some kibble before searching through the fridge for the leftovers from last night. I had taken up most of the cooking. Not that my dad or I discussed it, but since I regularly cooked with my mom, I guess I just inherited the role. As I waited for the microwave to heat my food, my gaze absently looked out the kitchen window toward the forest, the source of many meals when my mother was alive, and saw 3 kids standing just outside the perimeter of the trees. Despite being in the coldest depths of winter, all 3 wore thin gray hoodies and jeans. Of the 3, one stood a bit further in front and waved to me. I waved back, which, looking back now, should have been the first clue that something was not right. No one in that town, especially kids my age, waved to me in such a casual way. Nor did I wave so casually back. And even though their lack of appropriate clothing for the weather struck me as odd, it didn't make me feel uneasy. There was something, off about them, but I didn't feel threatened. The one who waved to me motioned with his hand that I should come out and join them. A sense of calm came over me. After a month of grieving in silence and sheltering myself from others, someone had come for me. They weren't just tolerating me, they wanted me.
Come on out,
the one in front said. Some part of my brain told me it was wrong that I should hear him so clearly when he was so far away, but his voice stroked away my raw nerves and anxiety. I can't, I said, though my truer feeling was I shouldn't.
You should come out and talk to us. It would be good for you.
Every syllable he spoke clouded the rational part of my brain, lulling me.
It must be lonely for you. Is anyone helping you?
I wanted help. I wanted someone to comfort me. Until he said the words, I hadn't known how much I needed it.
We can give you what you need.
It was the final trigger. I stumbled away from the kitchen toward the front door. Enough rational thought still lingered in my brain to put some boots on. But like the kids waiting outside, I didn't bother with my coat. I moved to the door, turned the knob, and began pulling it open. Something knocked me back a step before I could walk out of the house, a blur of motion pushing past me and a low rumbling sound. Echo? As if shaken from a dream, it took me a moment to remember why I even had the door open. The oddness of the situation shocked my system like a speedball of fear. I dashed out the door after Echo. Weird kids or not, I wasn't leaving my dog. Echo stood about 50 feet from the trio. His hackles were raised and he snarled and barked with a viciousness I didn't even know he was capable of.
You should put the dog away,
the kid who had waved said. I reached down and grasped Echo's collar. I didn't have to restrain him. It was as if some instinct told him he should go no further, but also that he shouldn't allow these kids to come any closer. Seeing them a little better, they all appeared to be my age, or maybe a few years younger. Though something continued to be off, I just couldn't immediately tell what.
You should leave the dog there and come with us,
the same kid said.
You know no one in this town is ever going to accept you.
I'm not leaving Echo. My voice wavered, not because I had any doubt in my loyalty to my dog, but because the kid's words rang true to me.
In a few years, that dog will be gone, but you'll still have lots of life left.
The boy's voice wasn't very kind or enticing. He spoke with a certainty that no matter what he said, I would listen, perhaps even obey.
You know you're not who you should be,
he said.
If you come with us, you can be your true self. No judgments, no world filled with hatred and prejudice to judge you.
I tightened my grip on Echo's collar. He shifted, putting his body in front of me, nudging me back. What would you know? I asked with little conviction. The boy smiled.
I know that just because you were born a certain way doesn't mean that's what we should be. I know for you to become what feels right, you'll need to leave this place first, which is why you should come with us.
Echo's growls gave way to a concerned whine. He pressed himself harder against my legs as if trying to tell me going forward was the wrong choice.
Leave the dog behind. Become who you want without fear.
I won't leave Echo. This time I managed the words with the conviction my heart felt.
Leave him. He can't protect you from everything.
I look at the three of them closer. Although I felt intensely drawn towards joining the kids, the sense of something being wrong was becoming stronger with each word the boy said. The other two had remained silent. They shuffled from foot to foot, exchanging occasional glances between each other. But then, I saw, and I understood. Their eyes were black. No definition between pupil or iris, no whites of the eyes, just nothingness. A dark abyss that wanted to swallow me. I stumbled back, holding on to Echo's collar. I don't know if I was worried he would stay behind to keep the kids back, or if without him near, my resolve would crumble. Nothing warm or kind radiated from them. I knew going with them meant not becoming my true self. It meant becoming one of them. Or it just meant ceasing to be altogether.
You'll regret it,
the boy said. When Echo and I had covered half the distance back to the house, the three kids turned and slowly retreated into the forest.
We'll be waiting if you change your mind,
were the last words that hung in the air as they vanished from sight. I crumpled to the ground, hugging Echo around the neck. He nuzzled into me, his tongue flicking out to lick whatever part of me it could reach. "Thank you," I whispered to him. When I felt my legs were steady enough, I stood and returned to the house. I never went into the woods alone again. All these years later, I now read about black-eyed kids on the internet, and I know that's what I saw. And while the mystery of their existence and the lack of knowing what they intended are scary, the thing that terrifies me is that despite their appearing before me for only a few minutes, is that they knew me better back then than I knew myself. While I firmly believed they meant me harm, what they said started me thinking, which led to decisions that ultimately brought me to a better place. And for that, I can't help but feel grateful to them.